Hi lovely people! This week I'm going to talk to you about some books that I may have impulsively bought. You're right, it's a haul video.
Doobie 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 doo. Doobie 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 Sophie Vlogs.
First of all, apologies for any gloomy lighting. It's winter. I don't own fancy lights. We've just got to make do with daylight and that light. So let's just dive straight in, and if it's a bit shadowy and it makes the face look weird, I'll just have to deal with that, quite frankly. In a strange twist, this haul can pretty much exclusively be split into non-fiction and poetry. So I'm going to start off with the non-fiction, and then I'm going to end on the poetry. So, first up we've got Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. I have heard the praises of this book be sung all over BookTube. I've not actually, I'm just racking my brain here, I don't know if I've ever actually really watched Mindy Kaling in anything other than The Office. So she's one of those like public figures who I am like familiar with as like herself doing stuff, but I don't know anything about her, to be quite honest. So I'm quite looking forward to this. I've been loving autobiographies, so this is just going to get added to my little pile and I'll get round to reading it sometime. Next up is another book that's been on my radar for a while, and that is Confronting the Classics by Mary Beard. If you know one thing about me, it's I do like my classical study stuff. And Mary Beard, I think she's generally great. I love all the stuff she does on the BBC. So when I saw this, I scooped it up and I took it away with me. My understanding of this is that she discusses various things to do with the classical world, and then also sort of relates it back to us, and like, how does this reflect on us? What can we take from this about where we are at currently? Which is what I think I expected, if you bear with me. I think I expected this book, The Mighty Dead Why Homer Matters by Adam Nicholson, to do a bit more of that. Which it didn't. It was still a good book, but it didn't do that. Which is, I think, why I got so excited about this, because I think that's what this is doing. If it's not, I'm sure it will still be great, but that's the sort of like vibe I'm going for. And then the final non-fiction book is Stonewall by Anne Balsam, breaking out in the fight for gay rights. So I picked this up because, as I kept saying in 2017, still always looking for more LGBT history and stuff, and Stonewall is like such a pivotal moment, you know. And then, so I bought this in a charity shop. It was £1 or something, impulsively. And then I went and looked at reviews of this, and unfortunately, a lot of the reviews of this say that like it erases people who were quite key in the movement. It's not like actually the best account of what happened, and all this stuff. So that's a shame, because I've already paid for it. So I am still going to read this. It's just, I think I'm going in with lower expectations. Maybe it will just give me like a very, very basic knowledge to bulk out my already quite basic knowledge. And then I can find some other books. If you have any recommendations for books that are really good at specifically talking about Stonewall, or just, as always, LGBT history, do let me know. I would like to hear them. And now we move on to my 3 poetry books, starting off with one by Sarah Crossan, which is actually a novel, but the whole novel is in verse poetry, which I just think sounds really interesting, quite frankly. I don't really know what this is about. I think it's about identical twins. Identical twins? Oh no, they're conjoined twins. Sorry, my mistake. So, I think it splits between their perspectives. I have no idea. Oof. I have no idea what the actual plot itself is about. I heard some buzz, I think the cover is beautiful, and that was sort of enough. Can we just tell? I go into these secondhand bookshops and I'm just like, impulse buy, impulse buy, impulse buy. But yeah, review to follow once I've read. Penultimate book is War Music by Christopher Logue. This looks at books 16 to 19 of the Iliad, and it's not like a translation of them, it's sort of like a reinterpretation of them. So I studied this a bit. I wrote my dissertation about Briseis as a figure throughout literature, and I looked at the different ways in which, as she occurs through literature and as different authors and writers respond to her differently, you can sort of read into that how we treat women and stuff. That's like a very bad description, but that was the gist. And so as part of that, I very, very briefly looked at War Music insofar as just Briseis isn't in it. She's mentioned a bit, but all of her speech is no longer in the bit, and I was maybe slightly scathing about that at the time. So I thought it was £1.50. It's very dinky, and I just thought maybe I could go into it and give him another chance, whilst and just appreciate it for what it is, rather than being like judging it for how it treats my favourite character. So as I just love the Iliad, we know that, we know this already. So just gonna reread it. And finally, on a slightly related note to that last one, we've got Selected Poetry by Derek Walcott. The reason this is related is because I first read Derek Walcott when I was doing a Helen of Troy module / Helen of Sparta module, which looked at different portrayals of Helen throughout literature. And as part of that, we looked at Derek Walcott's Omerus, which is sort of like a postmodern reinterpretation of the Iliad set in the Caribbean / also kind of the Odyssey. Which was great. Really loved that. Absolutely gorgeous. Only had to study an extract of it, but I read the whole thing because it was just so good. And as such, that's the only Derek Walcott I've read, apart from the odd poem here and there. So I thought I would buy this. That's all there is. There's all these pre-rambles as to like, here's my background with this text, and then I impulsively bought it. And here we are, in front of you today. That's it, those are all the books I wanted to haul. I just wanted to do a snappy little one, just to update you on a couple of new purchases, which will hopefully be appearing in book chats near you soon, just as soon as I have read them. I just get overexcited about the concept of reading them, and then forget that I actually have to do that bit. But yeah, how are you? Have you bought any good books recently? Have you read any of these books that I've just talked about recently? Just chat to me, babes. Give me your thoughts. That's it from me this week, and I will see you next week for something different.